All right, good morning and welcome everybody. It's Monday, December 16th, 2024. Welcome to our Income Navigator live session today. We're going to really just focus on trade setups, some charts, trade setups, trying to set up the week. We also have a pretty big active calendar for the week here. In fact, let's take a jump into that first and take a quick look at what is on the docket for the week. So let me go ahead and share that. Keep letting people in. All right, here we go. Let's share and let's take a quick look. All right, let's take a look at what is on the docket. Let me unshare my video. You don't have to watch me here. Okay, cool. Let's jump into it. So today, PMI is out for this morning. This is just manufacturing PMI. Just a little lighter than forecast and a little lighter than previous on the PMI. The flash services PMI just a little higher, but manufacturing a little lighter. Good for the market. I think good for the Fed continuing to do what we expect them to do. So really nothing exciting from today. Tomorrow we're going to get retail sales numbers. Tomorrow we're expecting a little bit of a bump in retail sales. I think that's all good as well. Just letting some people in. So tomorrow we'll see what happens with retail sales. I expect them to be fairly decent. Then, of course, on Wednesday we get the Fed with their Fed announcement coming out. And if we're taking a look at what we think the Fed's going to be doing, we certainly expect the Fed to cut rates by 25 basis points. We are at a 99.1% chance of a Fed 25 basis point cut this next meeting. Then we go out to January. And January, not so much. January, we're expecting really only maybe a 14% chance that they'll make another cut in January. So it looks like everyone's expecting a cut here in December, really nothing in January, and then you got to go out to March to really see maybe a 60% chance, if you look at these two together, 60% chance of another cut. So almost no chance in January, and maybe 60% chance going out to March that the Fed will make any additional cuts. So Fed funds rate tomorrow, everybody's expecting that half-point cut to take it from 475 to 450. We'll get some statements by the Fed. This is also their it's a quarterly statement as well. So a little bit, we'll get some projections tomorrow. So we get the economic projections piece, which the FOMC statement, that'll be interesting. But the projections too is where do they see things going in the next few months or so here. So that's something for Wednesday. Then Thursday, we're going to get unemployment and some GDP quarter over quarter info on Thursday. And then Friday, we get PCE, which is something that the Fed watches a lot. So we'll be watching for the PCE numbers on Friday, which is expected to come in slightly lighter than previous. We'll see. But I think the Fed wants to get this rate down to 3%. Looks like they'll cut another half to get us to about 4.5. We still have another 1.5 points to go to get to that 3% number that the Fed is talking about. That may not happen till March. We'll see when it comes down to it what the Fed does. Either way, it's all good. Let's jump into We're going to jump into Trading View today and take a look at some of the charts, some of the setups, and see what we got for that's cooking up on here. In fact, let's get just We'll keep the weekly daily up. So let's keep that up at least. Um, you know what? Let's get it off full screen. Let me fuss around here and take a look. In fact, maybe right now, let's actually jump into, I'm sorry, the other platform briefly, because I think this will be a little easier. Because I've got some scans in here that I wanted to take a look at. So sorry about that. We'll just move from one to the other. Let's start with futures, and then we'll get into everything else. So ES up this morning overall. Again, we still think we're bullish into the end of the year. Uh, Here, nothing changing my mind on that. I still think we're bullish. We're at the top of this range. We'll also look to see if we start to back off at all. Uh, but bullish right now. We're up to 61.55, new all-time highs today. So 61.55, new all-time highs. We continue to just be bullish but cautious. We are starting to enter, you know, almost to a 70 RSI on both the weekly and the daily. So we're getting close to really getting into this overbought uh, territory a bit. So we'll see. Oops. We'll see what happens there overall. But there's no reason to not be bullish right now, at least into the end of the year. We are overbought, so I think there's some cautiousness that needs to be applied. I'm just not going all hog it wild in. Let's look at oil. Oil's had a nice run. We continue to stay inside of this value area that we've been on oil. We've been in this now for about 2 full months, dating back to the middle of October. So 2 full months in here, 8 weeks of really oil doing nothing. I expect a lot of that to continue. I do not really expect oil to be rising anytime soon to great heights. So I think you can continue to sell 112s, strangles, jade lizards, any of those things on oil here, I think are good opportunities. So if I'm looking at trading opportunities, ES, I'm still just a hold, not adding anything new, even though short-term bullish. I'm just really a hold, except for the campaign trades, which will just continue to put on. And the last 112 for us was put on the second. So we do have another trade to get on today. So we'll stay with the campaign trades. And today we've got a 112C that we need to get on in the account. And we're getting close to a couple dropping off. So we'll be adding a new one today every 2 weeks. We'll be adding that trade in ES. On oil, though, I still like oil. I think it really sets up nice for strangles, 112s, and again, potentially like a jade lizard if you like trading those types of things on there. I will monitor. Right now, I'm back to toss. So I was on TradingView for a moment. We can move back to TradingView if you want at some point, but I wanted to um, jump in here briefly, then we can maybe jump over because there's a few other things in TradingView that I like to look at when we're going through things. But oil right now, nice sideways action. I think again, just keep playing what you see in front of you. It's up a day, it's down a day. It's up a day, it's down a day. It's had a nice, week of an up move last week, and then who knows? Do we just trade sideways? We are in a squeeze. Okay, stochastic momentum is getting, higher. And so it looks like maybe this chills out a tad, but we did trigger a bullish PSAR signal here, and the weekly chart, okay, is a bit oversold. So you're in a squeeze here as well. MACD is starting to climb, so could get a little bit of a pop in oil, but nothing that would deter me from, again, 112s, some strangle trade opportunities. I think both of them are set up. We've got both running, and I like where we are. So we'll continue to trade oil. I've already got 3 trades on. There's nothing to do in oil, we will review the portfolio. I'm going to go right to bonds. So bonds, which had a naughty week last week. So if we're looking at the nice and naughty list for the year or for the week last week, it was bonds, 5 straight pretty good sized down days. I think a way overdone move. You are oversold on bonds on both the daily and the weekly. I think we're down at this 115-ish and change, 115 and a half-ish level. May provide some support. We've bounced off support there. Um, Previously, I think this week and some of the Fed comments, I think PCE on Friday, I think all of these things will have a little bit of an impact on bonds, but they're up today. We're not hog wild on anything in bonds, but I think, again, bonds set up really well for Strangles. You may be able to, trade some 112s or some naked puts on these as well. I've got a bond trade I'm going to give you guys a little bit later. So we'll look at another bond trade, but I'm already in 2 Strangles. One of them's up 21%. The other one's down a couple $100. It's only 4 days old. Obviously, 4 days of bond selling is not helpful for any, or straight selling for 4 days is not helpful for anything. But I think we'll find some, potentially support in here. But I think the Strangle is the best way to play bonds right now. And I'm not going to get overly crazy with it. We've got 2 trades on. I would like to look at another trade a little longer term here, especially down at this support level. So we'll see with today's kind of a doji candle here today. Do we get some reversal tomorrow? I said if bonds were down, I would probably get in today. They're pretty much flat, so it's not a bad day to enter a trade. We'll take a look today on bonds. All right, gold. Gold was on a pretty good move for most of the week last week, okay, until Thursday and Friday. Some pretty good selling came down, hit right on. It's hard to see, I know probably from these charts in here, but you are at a 50% fib is exactly, kind of, we almost came down to it. We stopped right at the 50-day moving average on Friday, which is above the 50% fib retracement, okay, from this November low to the highs, and then 50%, almost 50% retracement, a little bit of a bounce today in gold. I think gold's weak in here, but I think gold just kind of meanders sideways to higher. So I'm overall, if I'm having to make a trade in gold, I'm still looking at potentially a Strangle or a 112, something along those lines. Maybe even a Jade Lizard trade as well, which is kind of a Strangle with no. Jade Lizard will give you basically a Strangle with no risk to the upside. So I think that may set up well for gold in here. If we look at copper, just tightening, tightening, and tightening in this range. We'll continue to bring this down so you can see pretty decent triangle pattern, symmetrical triangle pattern. We've got some overhead resistance in here. We've got some support down in here. I like it just as a Strangle trade. So copper, to me, it's a Strangle in here. We can go up and we can go down. We're in a pretty tight squeeze. It's ready to move one way or the other. I really don't see it tanking hard. So this pullback in copper, I think, is giving you some opportunity in here to trade, but I would probably be more apt to trade this thing to the upside than the downside here. I think it's on the weekly chart, you're oversold. On the daily chart, you're overbought. I think it's just a really good Strangle setup. So copper, to me, would be a Strangle. Silver, we had the breakout of the triangle last week, broke out, and then sold off hard towards the end of the week here. I think overall, we can actually remove that. We'll stick with the uptrend line that we have. And we're just sticking along that as well as some support in here. I can draw this thing, extend it out to the right. Okay, so we've got some support, I think, in here around the 30 mark on silver. Nice pullback, getting closer to oversold on the stochastic momentum on the weekly, but it's right in the middle as well. I think for silver, I think a strangle here, potentially like a 112 are good opportunities. I'm not ready for a put credit spread yet on it. We have one running, or we don't have one running. We have Strangle running. That Strangle's up 14% in 10 days. So I like the Strangle. I think you still have a good Strangle opportunity here. And if we look at the Aussie dollar, well, I don't know why my charts got a little bit disorganized here. All right. So if we look at the Aussie dollar, this thing has just continued to be in this, super bearish channel. You're very oversold on both the daily and the weekly here on 6A. The US dollar continues to be strong in here, but maybe topping out a bit. I think this thing may find some support in here. I'm still not doing anything on 6A. So it's still a hold for me right now, but it would not be the worst place. I think you've got some support right around this 63 level. I think you have some support right in here. If we run this across previous support on the, I think this is where, maybe I'll switch over to Trading View to pull something up. Give me a moment here on this as well. You've got some support right where we are here at the 63.5 level. I won't pull it up. I'll just leave it here. But this, I think, is really solid potential support. Let's see. Okay, it's thin for sure. Okay, but you're right at this support level in this downtrend channel. I think it's overdone, oversold a bit, not on the RSI at least, but on the stochastic momentum. I'd give it another day or two. Maybe let's see what happens this week, but I think you could start to sell potentially some naked puts in and around here. So there you go. There's a handful, a good handful, in my opinion, of trades that can be put on when it comes to futures. We will need to put on a 112 trade today. So that'll be one of our trades for today. So we'll get that trade on here. We'll explain that to everybody in a minute. And then potentially, I think a bond trade. The only thing for me is I've got to make sure that I've got the BP, which I absolutely do. I've got plenty of buying power in this account, in our trading account. So there's room for me, I think, to keep placing trades, and it's a good day for a 112 calendarized trade. So there's where we are. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Let's take a quick look at a few non-futures trades in here. I think CEG getting interesting in here for a daily swing trade type of a thing. Again, that's not necessarily what we do in this service. I also think J&J down here is getting interesting. I'm sticking away from both of those, not really going to do anything with either one, but I think those are interesting for short-term trades. For longer-term trades on stocks that I like, I think ARM here is a good setup. We broke out of this triangle pattern to the upside last week. We're selling off decently today. So we're bringing ourselves back into a range where I think I would be looking at ARM to do something. It's one of the better quality stocks in my opinion. I like ARM. I think Coke is setting up really nicely in here. So I think a trade in Coca-Cola. If you're looking at the weekly chart, you're just bouncing off of these oversold RSI levels a bit in here. MACD starting to reverse. The squeeze to the downside getting longer in the tooth. And then stochastic momentum is oversold and potentially starting to curl up. In here, you're at the bottom of the Bollinger Band and bouncing. And even a bit of a trend line move here on Coke to the upside. So I think you can take a look at this. You could also be talking that this is maybe a bull, or I'm sorry, a bearish, flag or pennant pattern. Maybe. We'd have to get above things here, but I think for a short-term trade, Coke is something interesting to take a look at. I think Lamb Research is something to take a look at. Again, I'm probably not going to do anything here, but I think from um, a longer term view perspective, if this is one of the ones that you like on the semiconductor space, I think Merck is an opportunity in here. And I know somebody brought up Micron as well. It does have earnings um, coming out, so earnings will be on Wednesday after the bell on Micron. Good pump today. It's not one that I typically will trade, but the trade setup is not terrible. Um, on it. All right, and then let's take a look at some of the more favorite ones that we like, and let's take a look at Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, we know, hit 106 last night, so it continues to, and it's up again today. So we're sitting here at 106,825 on it. I think we get a pullback, but I don't know when that is. But right now we are getting into overbought territory. This thing keeps popping higher. We'll be watching for some potential support maybe in this area here. But overall, Bitcoin is super strong, which is good for our IBIT, okay, which is going to mirror that. So this is our ETF that we're in the investing account, the lazy trader account. We have a um, 4 minutes covered call on this particular trade. We sold the 62s, which we're still not at. I mean, obviously those are down, but the underlying long calls are up 23% in 7 days. So our IBIT trade here on Bitcoin, we're up almost 20% in 7 days on IBIT. I think it sets up decently for um, a trade. Airbnb also, again, I'm not going to be buying it, holding it. It's not for investing, for maybe the active trader service. I think this thing's certainly a little interesting down here around this support level. And we can probably draw some support across here. Let's see if we can get it right. So we've hit on it once, twice here, maybe bouncing off today. Airbnb may be an interesting trade opportunity for a swing trade or something right now. Not something we're going to do, but I think it's an interesting uh, trade opportunity. All right. We entered a trade on, or we're in our Google trades. Um, nothing, nothing to do there. Let me actually pull up in here. We'll do this quickly and then we'll get to some trades. Google hitting another high today. So Google continues to move higher. We're doing great with our leaps on Google. NVIDIA keeps pulling back. It's holding this trend line right in here. You can see this area on the weekly. We could probably even extend this out a bit more and get a pretty good picture of this. It's been solid resistance. It's been support. It's been support. Okay. Now, will it be support again? Um, this pullback, I think, is giving you really nice opportunity. Now, if we break this 131-ish level, even 130, if we can break this and head lower, then I definitely want to add more shares. Let's see what happens in the next session or two. Are we going to get a pullback? Will that pullback be somewhere to this 120 level down here? But we are right at the bottom of the Bollinger Band. I think NVIDIA is giving you an opportunity right now. We have a put credit spread, which is down a bit, but I'm not doing anything with that at the 120 level. And then we have naked puts, which is down a fraction. So we're actually down a bit on our NVIDIA trades. This could be a head and shoulders pattern. If it breaks the neckline here, then maybe we see 120, maybe even 115. I think that's uh, a screaming buy opportunity for NVIDIA. Tesla continues to just pile its way higher. It's almost impossible to trade. If you're in it, great. If you're not in it, I just don't see any legitimate reason to, the risk reward is just not there to me to get in. Now, if we can come back down maybe to this 360 previous resistance level that we struggled with, I think this would be an opportunity to get long. But I'd like to see us come down. We are above the Bollinger Bands. We are above the 3 ATR levels, extraordinarily overbought on the RSI. There's just nothing to me that can be done here. And
I
I'll
don't know.
mute whoever that is.
I
David.
really,
So David, muting you. All right, let's keep rocking on here, and then let's take a look at Costco. Super strong. I don't know why after earnings. I mean, these guys had great earnings. Okay, they smashed their earnings. It's a great company. It's one of my top 10 companies out there. I think it's tough to get in here at these highs. Okay. We are getting to overbought territory. I think this was a great opportunity you know, on the right the day after earnings. Last Friday was a good opportunity off to 21. It's moving higher here. I think, and I don't know why they did not come out with a stock split, considering they're right at the 1,000, but I think the 1,000 level is a magnet. And we're right at that magnet. We're right at that level today. Here, nothing to do on that. I'm struggling to find trade opportunities, which to me is a fairly bearish sign. Palantir, overbought, completely overbought, rolling over a bit here. I think Palantir is starting to set up to give you some opportunities. Being included in the NASDAQ, great, big deal. That helped shares a little bit, but I think it's just I just think it's overdone. I think you want to wait till this thing comes back, and then we look at, maybe some of these other areas that we were in. All right, we'll get to trades in 1 second, but doggone it. There we go. So maybe a pullback to this 66-ish level, which I think is still way overdone. I don't think we're getting back down anytime soon to this 45-ish level. But I think that would be another opportunity for Palantir. I really think the value's down here in this 30-ish range on it. So we'll see what happens with Palantir. Nothing to trade there. And then lastly, let's take a look at MicroStrategy. This will be a trade idea for today as well. I'm going to talk about a long Jade lizard on this thing today, and I'll detail that trade out. So we may be able to place a few trades this morning. So the first one's going to be in the Income Navigator account, and then we'll look at the Lazy Trader, the investing account. But I like it here. Bitcoin being strong. This thing consolidated pretty nicely in here. Nice pullback. I think it's, kind of bananas. We'll see what happens. Okay, but you knew it was going to break one way or the other. If it would break down, I think that would be an awesome opportunity. It's long in the tooth. I think you got to be very careful trading this thing. It's more like a 2x leveraged, 2.5x almost leveraged Bitcoin play, but we take what we get when we can get it. All right, let's look at the account and see what trades we can put on for today. So we have a couple things that we need to do today. It is our every 2 weeks we want to get on a new 112 trade. So we will be placing that trade today. Let's just do a quick review of where everything's at. Oil here, we've got 3 trades in oil spanning 3 different expirations, 3 different futures contracts. We're up 76% on this 112, nothing to do there. We're up 60% on this 112, 13 days in, really nothing to do there. We've got a strangle. This strangle's down $200 in 6 days. I don't see anything to do there either. So there's just really nothing to do here on oil. No, I'm not going to add any new trades. We don't have a ton of capital in that. We'll see. ES, we've got this 112 trade. This is the 112W trade. There's 15 days in this trade. I'm probably going to just take it off here. We've made 86% on this trade. We could go a little bit more. I mean, right now we've got two contracts at 90 cents. Okay, there's only $90 more to be had in this trade. And I can only get maybe $90 more out of this trade. All right, so the maximum I can get is 630. I'm at 540. I can only get $90 out, and I just don't see holding on to it for 90 bucks. I just don't need the 90 bucks. So we're going to look to potentially close out of this thing. We'll see it, but I just assume get out of this, free up some buying power as well, since we have the naked puts. It's been a great trade. You can't really beat it. 24 days in the trade, it'll pay off almost $600, 550 bucks in 24 days, 90%. Great trade. I like these trades. Igor's doing them every Monday. I'm doing them as I see opportunities. Right now, I don't, while the market's going up, I think it's a great, it's working great. I don't want to really add a ton more on because I have other things uh, to add. So let's see. We might have to go to 90 cents to get out. Which again, I don't care. On it, let's just see if we can get out of this trade, and we'll move on. I may have to pull it off individually. All right, so on our other 112 trades, we're almost ready to close two of these. In fact, we're at 86 and 85%. Now, normally 90% is where I'd want to be. On it, Igor's got, and one of the questions in chat is there videos on the 112 Ws? Yeah, Igor's got several videos on that. It's also, you can read through on my, if you look at the trades for 0259, which is the trade number up here, you can see exactly how to manage and set that trade up. Okay. Pretty simple trade. It's just this was just for me about a 35-day. So I like doing them about 35-ish days out there, and it's just all in the same expiration. And you're just looking for a quick hit, and then you'd be willing to potentially roll or take assignment on it since it's a short-term trade. So it's just a short-term trade to create some cash. All right, so naked puts. So here's the key for me. I've got these two naked puts, plus there's another one down here. Now, this one's only been on for 14 days. It's up 35%, which is great, but that's not enough for me. These two, okay, they're almost at 90%. So the question for me is, do we want to, do we want to go for the 90% on these? So 14, which would be, I think, what, $1.45 instead of 205, which is 60 cents more. So do I want to wait to get 60 cents more on this particular trade? 5. Do some math. Yeah. So again, $1.45, 207, 60 cents. 60 cents times 6 contracts at 50% multipliers, $180 more. Is it worth waiting on this one for another 180 bucks? I've already made $3,700 on it. Do I want another 180 bucks, or is it better to reduce the buying power and the risk? Here, to me, for 180 bucks, I would just assume take this risk off. So let's look, see if we can get a good fill on it. We may or we may not. But for me, for $180, again, if 180 bucks and it's a $20,000 account, I think it would make more sense to leave it on. But this is $180 on a 300 and $70 account or something. So 300 and almost 80 today. I think we just take it off and free up the buying power, since we're going to add a new one here today. Then this one, okay, same thing. We'd be waiting for a buck 45, I think, or almost a buck, well, a dollar 4.25. But let's just say a buck 45. We're at 2.15. Okay, so we're 70 cents away. Again, times six times 50 for the multiplier, 210 bucks. It's only 85%, but do we give it a little bit longer? I mean, we can, but I'd like to close some of these down. Let's just do it. All right, so we're going to close this one for 210. All right, so got that one off of the books. We'll book the profits on that one. Do we give up $210 of more profit here? Now, the market could keep going up. We could get that 210. 210 is 210. I'm not buying, any money, but this would free up an absolute truckload of buying power and remove an absolute boatload of risk heading into uh, who knows what at an overbought level. I think it makes sense, in my opinion, to take this off. So I'm going to take a shot at 215. If I don't get filled, I don't think I'll chase, but we're going to shoot to close this one at 215. If the markets, you know, rise a little bit more today and I get taken out on it, fine. If not, I'll keep looking every day here, but there's 18 days to go. Is the gamma risk worth it? I don't know on this trade to make $210 more. Uh, we already closed one out, so we're in good shape. All right, so hopefully that makes sense for everybody here. That's how I'm managing. I'm close to 90%. You know, the markets are trucking higher, but they're definitely overbought in my opinion a bit. So I think it makes sense to take it off at 85 and the other one at 87%. All right. Everything else here is our put debit spreads. Put debit spreads. This one's part of an FB. So the old fat bastard one. This one is a 500 wide. Okay, then we're back to an old long-term 111 that we had on 50 wide. This naked put is just from 2 weeks ago, so nothing to do there. I put on a new FB trade here. This is the naked put from that. It's up. It's fine. This was to actually just to make as effectively it's a 111 FB, I believe. 271. Nothing to do here on this one. Nothing to do. These are long vol hedges, long vol hedges, long vol head, long hedges, long hedges, long hedges. Okay, this is a from the original regenerating fly hedge. We're at 30% on the shorts, not 50, so nothing to do there. Here's another put debit spread, 100 wide, nothing to do there. I'm waiting to see if we could get filled on this 112W. If not, I might have to break it into pieces. And then I'm not going to chase this other trade, so we'll see what happens. All right, and then put debit spread of a 112C. Here's another vol hedge that we combined off of the two tranches. We're at 27, again, almost 30%. Nothing to do there on that vol hedge. All right, here's another naked put. This is the 120-day naked put strategy that we run. We take these off at 40%. It's just flat. It's only been 10 days, so nothing to do there. And then put debit spread, FB put debit spread from that 111. I don't know why I have 112 in here, but I'm not going to change it right now. And then 111, all right, another 112C put debit spread. So lots of put debit spreads helping us out. And we don't have a whole ton of naked puts on. And then one more old long-term 111 put debit spread, nothing to do there. All right, gold. We're down slightly on gold on our put credit spread. It's been only 7 days. We're down 150 bucks. No big deal. Silver, we're up 390 bucks on this strangle, 14%, nothing to do there. Bonds, we have these two different strangles on. One's up, one's down. But the one that's down's only been 4 days. So I think we're fine on both of these. I talked about putting another bond trade on. I'll give you an idea. And then SPX, we've got two broken wing butterflies. This was an 8 DTE version. It's got 4 days left. We're up 70% on this one. Uh, there's really not much to do on this trade. Okay. Here's where we are. If we start to slip down, I'm not going to do anything with it because I mean, you could take the profit on this thing if it drops in there. Now, this trade we put on, sorry, cost me $100 in $100 to put this trade on. Actually, we sold it, I believe. So we took in $100 on it. So if we stay up in here, we'll make $100. We used 4,900 in buying power, so this will be a 2% winner if we stay up in the tail. But if we start to drop down here at all over the next 4 days, this thing may start to pay off nicely, all the way up to 5,000 at the apex here, which is extremely rare and doubtful that we'll hit there. But maybe we can still eke out a couple $100 if the market starts to sell off in the next couple days. We'll see, but no sense getting out of that thing, so we'll just hold on to that one. And this was the tiered butterfly that we put on when we were at 600. Now, I was going to start to move it, okay, if we go up 100 points from 600, but we're only at 675, so we're not there, so there's no sense putting on a second tranche here. So right now, this thing could potentially just expire. This is another butterfly. We took in $150. We did 2 contracts, so we took in $300 on 5,700. So if this thing expires in this tail up here, we will make about 5% on this trade in less than 2 months. But right now, this thing is totally fine. There's nothing to do with it. Yeah, we're up 40%, but the goal on this thing is that if we move up to, if we hit 6,100, I will be putting another butterfly tranche on, which will expand this tent overall. Not ready to do it yet. And that way, if we get any mean reversion down here, we're going to have a much larger tent ready to go. So nothing to do here. Oops, on that particular trade. All right, so let's get on a new ES trade, and we want to put on a 112 trade. We're going to go out to about 150 days. Okay, I'm going to sell a 100 wide for somewhere around $8. Okay, so this is 1050, so we're going to have to bump this thing down. Maybe something here like the 54.50, 53.50, about $8 on this. So this is again a 112C. So 150 days out, we're going to do this trade. And size-wise, I'm going to refer to my newest strategy builder on this. I'm going to put 6 contracts on a month. So this would be, that's a funky number. Probably just do a 112. I'll probably just do 2 tranches. So a 224 on this, since I already have 336s running and I have to back it off a tad. So we'll do a 224. Be a little bit more than we are anticipating, but I think it'll be good. So again, about $8 perfectly. That's exactly where we are. Can you do this in SPY? If you have a PM account, you can look to do this in SPY as well. We can take a look at that, but you can also do this in SPY. All right, let's go to, and you can do it in SPY, you can do it in XSP, you can do it in SPX. It all depends on your account size, your margin type, and your risk profile. All right, so let's go here. I like to go about 45 days or so. So let's see what we got. We've got 44. Let's go to the shortest one here. Well, again, these are all pretty similar. Let's go like 42 days. Let's just see what if the open interest is of any value, really. Let's see. End of the month. Plenty of open interest on these. Let's go here. We'll go. I really like to get under 45 if I can. I mean, that's 46, 44, 39. Let's look at the 39 day. And then here we want to go I want to grab about, if I can, about 20 bucks is where I'd like to ideally be 15 bucks, 20 bucks, something like that. Let's look at the 10. Let's look at 5,700. It's a good number. We're getting about 1650 for this one. Okay. Uh, so there's the trade. So we're gonna sell this one at 39 days. We'll go, yeah, I would like at least 15 to 20. So let's go here. I think this will make sense. 5,700 bucks. We're going to take in 2,550. So if we're looking at this particular trade, somebody's unmuted here. Carlos and Dwayne. Okay. All right, let's take a look here at how this thing's going to look. Okay. It's funky because it doesn't look right on here because it just things these days don't set up nicely. On here, you really can't tell on these calendarized what's going on, but you've got a $24, $25 credit, which I think we'll put that order in. $25 credit. So if we hit the trap, we got a 100 wide trap at 2. So if you're 100 wide times 2 contracts times the 50 multiplier, it's a $10,000 trap. All right. So if we happen to hit the trap, fine. If not, this 5,700 should generate us. I know this is funky. You can't really tell anything from here. Tastyworks just doesn't know how to handle it. But if we look at this 5,300 put, we are at, or 5,700 put, we're at about 16 bucks times 4 contracts. So 16 times 4, it's going to net us about $3,200. And then we're looking at 90%. So like $2,800 or so in the tail, 2,400 bucks, 2,500 bucks in the tail. All right, so we're going to put this trade on, and we're filled. All right, so we've got that trade on. Right now, we will set these all up in the account today. Give me a second, and we'll start prepping it a bit. Today is the 16th, and we did close one out today. This will be trade number 273. I'm just prepping. I'm not going to do the whole thing here for you guys, but 273. So this is a 39 DTE 112C naked put, and this will be trade 0273. And we'll be monitoring that thing for 90%. And then we also sold the put debit spread out here, and let's group that one. These are 151 DTE, so 112C. This is the put debit spread version, and again, 0273 on the trade, so I can group it. There you go. So we are off and running with another tranche of put debit spreads, and we've got another naked put right here that we've got on, sized correctly. We took one off today, so we took one off, put one on, and then we're close to potentially having another one, which was this one here, up here. We're close to having this one come off too, if we happen to hit our 215, which right now we're not. So not too worried about it. I will let that thing go. I would like a little bit more out of it, but we'll see where the markets go tomorrow. So there's our ES trade. So right now, like anything that I have to get on, I got on, and I'm good to go. Okay, only campaign trades is all I'm adding in ES. Nothing new. Bonds. We talked about a bond trade. I'm going to share it with you in here what I'm looking to do on bonds. I do have, again, 2 Strangles, as you guys know, but I'm going to look at something else. I'm going to go out a little further. I just wanted to share it. I'm not necessarily going to put this trade on, but if we go out 158 days, which is only till May, so let's go out to May, and let's take a look at the 105, okay, but we could probably go even lower on this. But 105 would put us on ZB. That would put us lower than we hit at any point. We were at 107 at the lowest point back last October. So 107, I think there's supports at 116, 114, and then I think there's support at 112, and then there's definitely, I think, some support at 107. But here's an interesting uh, trade opportunity. This thing pays right now, pays about 36 ticks, okay, which is 563 bucks using 2148. 563 divided by 21, let's say this 2156, I guess. Okay. This is a 26% trade. So we could make 26% in 5 months. So for May, so you got January, February, March, April, and then May 23rd. So 5 months from today, if we sold the 105s, this is a 26% trade in 5 months. Okay, which is over 5% a month. I don't think that's a bad trade setup opportunity. If you also wanted, I think, to look at something here, you could even strangle. I mean, we have strangles on now, out to March, I believe these are. So you got a February, a March. But if you wanted to even put something on out here, let's say you wanted to, I just think this thing by itself is great. But let's put on something on the call side way up. Maybe up here like like a 5 delta or something. And now you're taking in $781 on 25.74. This is a 30% trade now as opposed to 25. If you really want to just drop something in here at the 140 level, something you think that, okay, we're just not going to hit. If you want to even go out to 150, you could probably do that. Either way, even if you threw this 150 on, it's just way out of the money, but you're picking up a couple extra, 2, 3 ticks on top of this. 44 ticks, which is $688 on 2361 in margin. Again, it's the 30% trade in 5 months. It's 5% a month. I think this is not a bad trade opportunity, and 105 is well below anything that we have. If you even want to go lower, you can go like 102, still make $438 on 1913. Okay, this is 23% in 5 months. Okay, which is a little over 4.5% a month at 102. Okay, these are super, I think, super low deltas. So I think bonds are giving you some opportunities to do some longer term trades in here. I kind of like the 105 personally, but if you wanted to be 104 or something like that, you could certainly do that. And if you wanted to sell just some way out of the money, I don't know. I don't think bonds are going to 150 from 116. I think if anything, they drift lower on pieces in here. So I think there's good opportunities to setting up on bonds for some longer term trades, which are nice 20% trades out there. I'm not going to add anything today, but I think we'll keep an eye on our buying power. I've only got a little bit of money on bonds right now. We had some bonds. They tested us. We rolled, and then we took them off for winners, and we're in good shape on bonds. So I might look to do maybe another really wide strangle. We'll keep an eye on. We'll keep an eye on things because if we're looking at the charts, they've sold off pretty well. Okay, but we still have a long way down here, and then I just don't think over 133 is really reasonable here. So I think bonds. I think you still strangle them longer term. All right, so there's where we are on bonds. Let's finish up here with lazy trader stuff, and then we'll wrap it up for you guys today. All right, so let's get back to the account. Here's the lazy trader account. It's a nice up day in this account. Most things are pretty green. Some of the bonds are down fractionally. Bonds are down a little bit today, which has been our problem children, but it's all good on this. We did get into Celsius with a poor man's covered call last week on, I think, Thursday. So I'm all good here. Nothing to do on this particular trade. I like where it is. So I think Celsius is a decent little trade opportunity here. We'll see. Not a very big trade, but we'll see what happens. Chipotle, we still have the strangle running on this thing. We're down to 30 days left. We're halfway through this trade. It's up just fractionally right now. Hasn't done a whole lot of anything. I don't know. We'll leave it on. We'll see what happens with Chipotle. Not hurting us. We don't need the buying power. Google, we are in these naked puts at 140. Google's up huge today. Magnet at 200. Google's trying to hit it. We're up 46%. Nothing to do. All right, our IBIT trade, which is our Bitcoin trade, doing great. I mean, we're up 20% right now in this trade in 7 days. We have a 62 covered call. Okay, we're at 60, almost 61. Okay, nothing to do on this. Nothing to do on this trade at all here. You're actually up 800, almost. You're up $600 in 7 days. That's a pretty nice trade to be up 20% in 7 days. I'm not going to do anything to roll these calls. If they're breached, great. I just let them just keep going. Okay, which means this the underlying down here will continue to expand, and then we can either roll out in time, or we just close the whole trade. Either one, we're in good shape. IWM, we have a naked put. We're up 22% in 27 days. Nothing to do on IWM. Mobileye, this trade, I should have grouped it. So on Mobileye here, let's go through this 112 trade. Let me pull it up. This was something from a different account. So kind of ignore this trade. It's a little benefit for you if you're not. Okay, this trade's up a little bit for me. It's up $70. Here, 112 trade in a Mobileye, not a lazy trader trade, so I did not post that one. Up nice 744% though, but we won't count that. All right, sorry, let's keep going. Meta, we're up 32% on naked puts, nothing to do there. MicroStrategy, we got a poor man's covered call. This thing's up fantastic. We've made $4,000 in 13 days on this particular trade. Nothing to do. I mean, we're in the money on here, but I really don't care. We're only down $75 on a trade that is in the money by $7. Okay, because of the premium that we collected. We could technically roll this thing out. I mean, we could roll it out now and really, it expires in 4 days. We could look to next week, go up to maybe the 430s and still pick up another, how many contracts? We're just doing one contract, right? We could go to the 430 next week and pick up another $500 on this trade. In fact, I think that's a great idea. Let's just make some more money. So we'll put this trade in. We'll see if we get filled. But we're up fantastic on this trade. We'll see if we get filled. I'll just let it cook for a little bit. If we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. All right, we'll make one more adjustment. No, I'm not making an adjustment. You come to me. All right, MicroStrategy, NVIDIA here. We've got a put credit spread that's down and a naked put that's down. NVIDIA just taking a beating lately. I'm good with both of these. Don't really want to do anything more. If we get stopped out, we get stopped out. We move on to another trade on the put credit spread. Naked puts, if I get assigned, I'm absolutely taking these shares, or at least a chunk of them. All right, silver, we also have a poor man's covered call running on silver. Silver's down a bit on the underlying, but we've already booked If you check out the Lazy Trader trades on silver, we have already booked on silver $360 in covered calls that we've closed already. So we're already $360 in income that we've closed. All right, and this one's fine. So nothing to do here on silver. I think we're fine where we are. All right, SPY. We do have a couple trades running on SPY. So we did put a Jade Lizard on SPY. We put this on the 13th, so 3 days ago. Jade Lizard on in SPY. I'm totally fine with where we are. We sold the 575 puts, okay? And then we also sold the 621, 623 credit spread. So obviously that is a Jade Lizard. It's 42 days. We're up a whole $22, 7% in this trade. It's just a short-term trade for me. We posted that. We have put credit spreads that we've been doing in here. So I'm trading the leaps, and today is Monday, so it's time to add a new leap. So we're going to add a new SPY leap today in here, and I've been adding put credit spreads along the way. I am going to be moving my SPY leaps from this account into the Income Navigator account. I am just waiting on the portfolio margin. So until then, we will keep trading them in here, the SPYs, and then we'll start putting them on in the other account once we're approved, which should happen probably in the next day or so, but not timely enough to add a new SPY trade, although I could wait to see if the market comes down tomorrow, but I don't like trying to market time anything. So let's go out. Let's trade our SPY leap. We'll go out 365-ish days, so the 368 here is pretty good. We're going to go down to around 12 delta. Let's go 13 delta on this one, since we've already got a handful of these others on. 6 of these. Yep, 11%. Right, is our sizing, and let's go for it and see. Well, if you're going to give me 13, I'll take 13. All right, filled. All right, done. So we added a new SPY naked put, a leap in here, and then I am doing put credit spreads at the same time. I'm going to leave these put credit spreads continue to work in this account while I move the SPY leaps out. That'll help the buying power in this account as well. And I'm still trying to figure out which ones are going to perform better. So if you look at the SPY leap or the put credit spread, let's see, where's the last one that I did? And this one's from last week, 7 days old. This is actually down 40, $50. And if I look at the leap from 7 days ago, okay, that's down $174 or a little over 3%. They're performing similar. So I'm getting to like the put credit spreads a little bit more in here. I may continue to do them since it's a defined risk trade. And I may put one on today as well. All right, so there's SPY. Square, we're just down. It's a poor man's covered call. We're at 80. We're almost at 90%. So it's almost time to take this thing off. We got 4 days left in this trade. It's down on the underlying. I'm fine with it for now. SVOL, the usual. TLT, these leaps are down. 2 of them are in the money. I don't care. We're still 60 to 90 to 120 days out on bonds. Bonds may continue to fall. If so, then I'll probably roll these things out for more credit. I've already written credit spreads against them. So we've already been generating some cash. And then the TMF, we're definitely down on the shares. And then we continue to just keep making money while we wait. Here, we own it, so we don't have to worry about anything except the market reversing, or we're just going to own it for a long time. All right, TNA, this is 50% winner on this leap put. And then VOO, we talked about this last week. We've only got 30 days left in this trade. If we hit 90%, I'm probably going to close and reestablish. I do want to get assigned. I do want VOO shares in here. There was a question too about SMCI from somebody. I did I did take this off for a loss. It was a put credit spread. It hit my 150 target, so I took it off for a loss last week. So did lose that one, but we're in great shape in this account. I think it's a couple things that we can take a look to do. Um, SoFi is another one that I have my eye on to maybe do something in SoFi. It's up again today. We're moving to new highs. Uh, I think QQQ lends itself also to a 112 trade. So actually, I think I set this one up on the weekend for a particular trade here. Let me look at my trade setup on QQQ. I'll give you a trade here. Uh, Here's my trade on that. So SoFi was a bull combo. We'll take a look at that today. QQQ here was a 112. I went out to February 21, about 60 days on this thing. Now it's up substantially today, so I don't know if it's still going to make sense. I was around 495. Well, that does not seem right. Maybe it is. No, couldn't be. Trying to figure out what my trade setup was here. I think I had the wrong ones. Let me look at my Qs. It was the 505, 495, but it may not be that same anymore. Okay, and I sold the 450 put, which at that time was a $1.78. Still mean it's not enough now. Maybe the 455. All right, so I'm trying to set this thing back up here. This was a $2 trade. I'm only getting 40 cents, but it was a 112, so this might work. Okay, yeah, pretty close to what I had the last time. Let's just set it up this way. So here's a QQQ trade potentially to consider. This is a 112 on QQQ. The thing that I had seen here that was pretty decent for me on this particular trade right, is that it's overbought. We could get some pullback on here. The 455 is not a terrible level, but there's no risk to the upside in this trade. If we keep going higher, great. We're going to make 197 bucks, okay, on 3,048. Okay, so we're gonna make 6% in the tail. So this is 6% if we stay up here. And then if we drop down here, obviously we're going to make a whole lot more trade. We may not even need that wide. It might look better like this. Slide this thing down a tad. Kind of like this, actually a little bit better. I don't need as big of a trap. If we fall down, great. Let's go 450. Let's get a little more juice on this thing. All right, so this particular version of this trade, I'm going to make 235 bucks using 3,053. So this is now almost an 8% trade, 8% trade on the Qs. So 8% trade on the Qs here. And then if we drop in here, obviously we're going to make 3 times that amount. We'll make 735. Here. So do you want the income, okay, or do you want a little bit of a fatter trap here where you can make a little bit more, a little bit more on that in the trap here. I'm not necessarily playing for the trap. I would like the income. I think this is not a bad trade. Just doing a simple 112 on the Qs and 450. is how far away? 450 is a 15% down move in the next 67 days. We are overbought. I would expect us to slide down. I don't know if we're going down 67%. So the question is, do you like to make 249 bucks on 3065, which is again 8%? Do you want to make your 8% in the tail, or do you want to try to make your 749 bucks on 3065, which is 24% here, which again is still a pretty nice trade if we pull back. As long as we stay above 450, we should be in pretty good shape. And then the question is, would you take assignment or even roll out the Qs at 450? 450 is below the 200-day moving average. So I kind of like this trade, to be honest with you. Do we want to do, let's do 2 contracts. Let's just do this thing here at 250. And we'll see if we get a fill. We may not on this trade, but I'm going to do a 112 on this. All right, and then let's talk one more time about IBAT. And the trade that we have right now is a poor man's covered call. I like the bull combo trades right now with the market being very bullish. The bull combo is I'm buying a call vertical and I'm financing it with naked puts. All right, we got filled on. Okay, we got filled on the roll on MicroStrategy. So perfect. So we just booked some more cash on that one, which is good. All right, so let's go back to IBIT here. Do we think Bitcoin goes any higher than it is? Let's look at a bull combo. We're going to look at like January 24th. January 17th is a good one because before the inauguration, but let's set this one up real quick. Bull combo. So the one I did the other day was like a 61.66, and we're already up 2 points. So let's look at the 63.69. See if I can mirror this trade. That was a 160 bucks. Yeah, so let's just do this. Let's do the 64.69. So if we continue to run up here, we're spending $150 to potentially win 350 if we land in this trap. All right, and then in order to pay for this 5 wide, okay, in order to pay for this, we're going to sell, I don't know, something down around, we can do the 50s maybe. I'm not getting enough for this trade right now. Let's see. Okay, maybe the 51 because we've moved today. All right, so here's what this trade looks like. Ooh. Okay, sorry, I grabbed the wrong thing. All right, hang on. Get too excited here. All right, so here's the bull combo trade. This is one of my favorite trades. I like this trade. We've been doing a few of these out there on a couple different underlyings, but here's how this trade sets up. Number one, I have a long call spread. Okay, I paid roughly $1.50 or 60 to get into this trade. Okay, and then I also sold 2 naked puts down here. Now, would you be willing, to either roll these out? You could take you could stop out on this trade as well. But if we pull back on Bitcoin, we could pull down from 60 to 51. We're almost at 61, so 10 points. If Bitcoin pulls back about 16%, that'll put this put in a little bit of jeopardy. And we'd have to weigh that trade. If you wanted to move it down further, you can, and play for just a very small amount of money in here, which I really didn't. I really wanted to make some cash. So I would make 115 bucks. If it stays between 51 and 64, we make $115 on 30.55, which is basically 4% in 39-ish days. So 4% in this leg, and then if we get up into here, now we're making 615 bucks on 30.55, okay, which is like 20%. So I like these trades. I think they set up well, for it. If we do 2 contracts of this, you got to be bullish on Bitcoin. Do you think Bitcoin goes higher? Is today the highest? Do we reverse? Obviously, this trade, you'd have to have a stop on this trade. To me, I would do a 2x stop on the entire trade. We'll see how it goes. Okay, but makes sense. Hopefully, you can see this trade. Let's put this on, and let's see if we get a fill on IBIT. And then the last one was I also looked at doing the same thing on SoFi. Now, SoFi is running again. No, it's not running huge. But SoFi, do you think it has some more upside on it? Let's look at the same expiration on SoFi. We were going to look at like the thin one, 17, 18, something like that. 35 cents. That may not be right, but we'll figure it out. And then we would also look at selling like the 13.5 or something down here. Okay. And here's what this one looks like. So here's the same trade on SoFi. Okay. So if SoFi continues to march its way higher, okay, you're going to benefit from this trade. It's making, 25 bucks using $163 in margin. So you make 15% in here. So let's up the quantities a bit on this. Okay. So we could make 125 bucks using $800. It's a pretty good deal. Okay. Again, 15% in this area. And then if SoFi keeps moving up past 17, okay, now we make almost like 80% on this thing. 625 divided by 817. 76% if this thing moves any higher between now and the middle of January. Is SoFi overextended? It is. Would you be willing to own SoFi at 13 and a half? I'm close on that. So it's not a bad opportunity here for that. 13 and a half, I might be willing to roll it out. We've got strong bullish signal. It's overbought. I'm just giving you some ideas here. Let's see who jumped on. Paulo, muting you too. All right. So here's another idea on SoFi. I like these bull combos where we pay for a bull spread doing that. You could even, I'm not advocating, this is the last thing I'll cover, and then we're going to wrap up for today. So let's look at the VIX. This would also, I don't like trading the VIX. I think VIX sucks. This is not something that I have a whole lot of interest in, but you could also do something similar here. Let's say you want to do maybe the 15-20. Okay, and then you can't even find anything to pay for it with. It's such a bad trade. You'd have to sell like the 14. Okay, so here, this would be kind of, a VIX version of it that, I mean, you definitely have downside. Is the VIX going to drop below 14? I don't know. It could go to 12. It could go to 11. I hate the VIX. So I don't like this trade. It's one of the ways to potentially to do it, but I don't like it. All right, let me just double check chat and then we'll wrap up for the day. Let's see. Covered SoFi. Why did you pick the 64 long for the spread on IBIT? Um, Back to it. All right, so why did I pick the 64? I'm looking for something that gives me, a decent amount, or that, co doesn't cost me a ton. So I'm going out of the money a bit. You can go out of the money even more on this particular trade. Let's go experiment for a second. Second. No, here we go. All right, so if you want to experiment and go out a little bit more and you want to go out to like the expected move, obviously you're going to make a whole lot more money here, but your odds, at like a 30 delta, my odds aren't very good that that this thing's going to continue up here. It might, okay, but now my probability of profit on this is down around 70%, where around here it's closer to 45 delta. It's almost a 50-50 shot that I can get in there. So I really just played with it to get the right cost. And then when I start playing here, okay, I will start to make adjustments. Like, do you want to drop down to make it a little bit safer with the 50 put? And then, do you want to play for the move up, which is I want to get some of this move up. If you move it up too far here, obviously you're going to make pretty good money down in here, okay? But you're not, your chances of getting up into here are not quite as good. Still 294 on 55.44. This is still a 5% trade, so it's still a good trade. This is not a bad trade at all. You just have to go a little bit more to get up here. I was, as I experimented around, I'm typically out of the money a little bit. I can just let's do the 65 instead of the 64. Okay. If I play it this way, I'm making $190, okay, which is a little over 3%. Okay. And then I could make a lot more up here, which is fine, but you just have to play, in my opinion. What do you want to play for? The move up or staying in the tail piece here? I mean, this is a totally fine setup to make it a little bit narrower. You could go 64, 68, make even more money. Here, you just, make 204 on 56.30. Okay, so now you make like 3.6%. I don't know. You play with it. I think you find what works for you. For me, I just started with something that's out of the money. I picked something that I felt that I could pay for without going to 20 delta or something here. If I'm just looking at 15 or 10 deltas here, let's say I want to, if I can get a buck times two contracts, that's $2. So what here would give me, something I could do for a buck, so that these $2 is twice as much as this. So in the bull combo, I like to get, um, if I'm doubling this, then, or whatever this strike is here, that's the width I want to get. So I just keep playing with it till I find something that I like. Can you start with the naked puts? I think the best thing is you figure out the naked put that you are comfortable at. I'm out, I am right at the expected move, $1.05. What combo here gives me $1.05 on this? So let's get rid of this. Okay, which one costs me $1.05? Okay, so I can keep going up. Okay, I could probably do this one and pay for it with that. All right, so again, you're taking in, 107 bucks on 28.05, which is still about 3.8%. I mean, this is a pretty nice setup here as well. Which one did we put on? We put on the 51, 64, 69. I mean, this one's totally fine as well. And this one's down to 50. with the 67.72. You're just not, it's a little bit harder to get up into this trap up here. So I'm going to leave what I got on. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah. It just boils down to delta versus income play. Yeah, it's just a matter of how much risk do you want in that trade to put that on. So how much risk are you willing to take on for this trade? And I want, because I'm bullish, I'm looking to get that trap. I'm not playing for the tail quite as much. The tail is okay, great. If I make 3%, perfect. I want to make the trap on it. It's kind of a reverse of the bear trap. It's a bull trap, is what it is. So it's a bull trap play or a bull combo, whatever you want to call it. But it's like a bull trap, and I want to trap the bulls if they move higher. But it's something on a stock that's bullish right now that you think you can play. It's almost like a butterfly type of trade, like a broken wing butterfly. All right, well, let this thing cook. This thing obviously is not going anywhere with the pricing that I have, so I might have to tweak it. Bitcoin's just super strong on the day. All right, so we got a bunch of trades. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. Again, I'm looking at oil strangles, bond strangles, gold strangles, copper strangles, silver strangles. I'm not trading anything in ES except for my standard 112, which I already put on. I'm not trading 6A, not doing anything there. And then I'm looking at trades on the Qs, MicroStrategy. Let me do one more. I know I keep saying this is like Oprah. Well, one more thing. Or no, it's Steve. When I say Oprah for Steve Jobs. One more thing. I got one more thing for you. So if you stuck around to the end, you're going to get this one. Okay. Let's look at MicroStrategy. Now we're going to go out. Let's see if I can pull this one out. Let's go to January 17th. I don't know if this is the right expiration, but we're going to do this January 17th, right before the election. Okay. 250. Excuse me, I'm going to lose my voice, so give me 1 second. All right, we're going to sell the 250. We're going to go all the way up to 800, which has some juice. It's actually got decent amount of contracts up at 800. We're at 429, so we'd have to drop 200 points, okay, for this strangle. And I'm not going to leave it like this, but I'm going to show it to you. Okay, I'm not done with this trade yet. All right, so here's the strangle. Okay, 240, or I'm sorry, 250, 800. Okay, this thing pays 13.94 on 51.84. Okay, 26%. It's a pretty nice little trade. But what if we turn this thing into a long Jade lizard? Okay, and we go to the 200 and we cap our downside. Okay. Now what we did was we have totally cut our buying power down on this trade. So now here's what we got. We got a little bit of a defined risk down here. Okay, it's a long Jade lizard, but look at the profit on this thing. 1192 using 1995 in buying power. This is a 60% return trade if you stay in here. Okay. Now, you got to be able to stay above 250, and we're at 429 and climbing. That's not bad. A 60% trade in 30 days. Okay. Too long? Let's cut the expirations down. Let's look at an 18-day version of this. Okay, so this is let's even go down more. Let's look at an 11 days. Let's look at expiring. Let's look at Friday. Let's do this for Friday. Okay. Can we do something? They don't have all the strikes available. Okay. Can we still do something in here for Friday? Probably not. We're not going to get enough juice. Okay. On this trade, we would have to tighten some of these things up. on it. Let's look at next Friday. We can't do it for this Friday, but next Friday. What if we did the same basic setup here? Can we go past the 700s? I mean, this is so far out of the money on both sides, it's not even funny. Um, but yeah, let's look at that. All right, so on this trade, you're actually making $243 using 3050. Okay, this is an 8% trade in 11 days. Now, the one I showed you was 60% in 30 days. Okay, this is 11% in 11 days. Okay, not quite the same. Doesn't mean you have to stay in it the whole time. You can take profit at 50% or what have you. This is not, to me, a bad trade. This is a um, long Jade Lizard trade, but that's it. It's got a 200 point downside, a huge downside. Doesn't mean MicroStrategy can certainly go there, and it has a 270 point upside. So you have a couple different options here that you could go with for this particular trade. I think it's a pretty interesting trade myself. What if we tighten this up a tad? Does that make it any better? Not really. So I think this is an interesting trade. Will it stay below 700? I think so. Will it stay above 250 by next week? I think it's a good trade opportunity um, out there. And then where would you put some stops? I mean, could you take assignment? Can you roll out the puts? You can do any of those things. It is defined risk, so the most I can lose would be 10 grand on this particular trade. If it crashed all the way down, the most I lose is 10 grand, which again would not be ideal, but this is a $372,000 account, so it's a little over 2% for me. 2% to win on this particular trade. And I'm doing 2 contracts of this for next week. 700 calls. And again, if you go out even further, you can make 60% in a month on this trade. So I think this is not a bad opportunity. Can we go to 700? Maybe. I don't know. I think today on an update, this is a good trade. So we're actually going to put this one on. All right, we're going to see what happens. So we put the trade on. So here's our trade. What is that then? Oh, that's the new roll. Okay. So here is the Jade Lizard that we put on. This is the long Jade Lizard. Okay. And then this is the new covered call. All right, so long Jade Lizard is on. Let's see what happens with this trade. We'll keep you guys in the loop on this trade. All right, hope this was helpful for you. Hope you got some stuff out of it. We'll see you guys in the Discord. Take care, everybody.